Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. Means we're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. About half that work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. We're fired up. You are here. Obviously, the news of yesterday evening, Ole Miss suing two LSU players. We'll get to it coming up in 15 minutes. It's a What If Wednesday. Fire those away on our text line, 225-499-1045. Or in the Bayou 4 chat, we'll take them there as well. Second hour, we'll hear from Saints head coach Kellen Moore. We'll also visit with Kat Terrell at 2:30. Kat works for ESPN.com, covering the black and gold. She will be with us at the bottom of hour number 2, talking Saints, and was excited to kind of get into Saints talk today. And that's just a huge buzzkill. We're going to lead with it. It's our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
I mean, we said it yesterday, y'all. You know, in the NFL, that first training camp's injury is coming. It's just a matter of when. And for the Panthers, it was day one. Nick Scorton goes down, torn ACL. And for some reason, it seems to happen in the NFL with a little bit more regularity than in college, the two football programs that we cover at the end of the summer here. But today, it appears, and there are multiple reports now suggesting this, that Bryan Bresee is done for the year for the New Orleans Saints 90 minutes into training camp. The report from Ian Rappaport is that Bryan Bresee has very likely torn his ACL. That has not been confirmed, but very often these insiders, not incorrect with something that significant this early. Those doctors that get out there onto the field can generally tell pretty quickly if you've got a tear. They'll certainly do the imaging. And so we're not here to confirm that, but the reports are so prevalent that it's impossible to ignore it. It appears the Saints have lost a starting defensive lineman an hour and a half into training camp. It is still July. And that is just such a gut punch to New Orleans, and it is obviously just a huge gut punch to Bryan Bresee as well. You're talking about a player that the Saints selected in the first round, 29th overall in 2023. He has played in a lot of football games for New Orleans over his 3 seasons in the NFL. Played all 17 games as a rookie in 2023. Played all 17 games as a second-year player in 2024. Played 15 games, all 15 as a starter last year for New Orleans. Looked like really coming on as a pass rusher through 2 seasons. Without starting a single game as a rookie, he had 4.5 sacks. Then his second year, 7.5 sacks from a defensive tackle spot. You're really showing some elite traits as a pass rusher. Now, of course, there were questions about his ability to stop the run. That's always been something that Bresee had to get better at. But it's hard to find guys at that size with that quickness to affect the quarterback and to get the quarterback on the ground. And Bresee did that a ton through his first 2 years. Last year in 15 starts, not as much, 2.5 sacks, but certainly a young player that the Saints are helping to build the defense around. You're talking about an age nearly 25 player. He turns 25 coming up in October, but 6'5", 305, and certainly entrenched as a starter on this team, and now you've lost him. So there are a couple of layers to that. One, you've got Devon Godshaw as a veteran right there on the interior of your defensive front. You've got a couple of other veteran presences in your locker room. You've got Nathan Shepard. You've got John Ridgeway. I wouldn't suggest either of those guys are elite-level players. I wouldn't suggest that either is probably a championship-level player at this point. But they are veterans, and they can play at this level. And then you've got the 2 young guys that you've drafted. You've got Christian Miller, and then you also brought in Christian Boyd as well. Vernon Broughton is a guy that has the ability to maybe play both, but you really are betting on Godshaw staying healthy as the veteran linchpin in the interior, of Shepard and Ridgeway really taking some control of things early, and hopefully Christian Miller emerges as a huge hit in the second round. You've got to have that. That's what your depth chart looks like right now. And I would not suggest that group of players would be a strength of this Saints team. In fact, it's now a significant question mark. A significant question mark. And in late July, there is time. There is time to see what you've got in Christian Miller. There's time to see how versatile Vernon Broughton can be. There is time to assess what you've got in-house. There is also time to understand, okay, we now know this is a hole. And there are going to be cuts all around the league over the course of the next 4 or 5 weeks, and we may have to go shopping somewhere to find somebody that maybe a year or two past their prime that can come in and hold the point of attack. You have time to do that. You would not have time to do that if we were 4 days out from game day and he got hurt right before the opener. It's a bad situation for the Saints to be in. And there are plenty of other players, and I don't mean to be disrespectful. I'm just trying to break down the team here. There are plenty of other positions where I would think this hurts worse when you talk about true impact on the team. But make no mistake, this is a big blow in the middle of the Saints' defensive interior. There's no way to avoid that because this is the youngest, most talented pass rusher, most talented player you've got at this position. Godshaw's older. Shepard and Ridway are reserves. Christian Miller is a rookie. Vernon Broughton did not play last year. There's just a lot of question marks around that. So while today is such an energizing day, I got up out of bed, fired up to go on my run this morning and go, God, we got football to talk about today. We got the Saints on the practice field. And I'm not even, y'all know, I'm not in the foxhole with y'all in the black and gold every Sunday. I want them to win, but I don't breathe it like y'all do. I just talk about them. I break them down. But I was excited for today. And that excitement's going to carry over into the week, and you'll see the highlights come out, and you'll see the preseason game here in a few weeks. And, there will be tons of excitement throughout August. This is not going to throw a cold blanket on everything like if a couple of other players went down. I'm not even going to put that in the universe. But this is not to that degree, but it's a gut punch one day in. And beyond the impact on this Saints team, it just strikes me that there are, in my opinion, it's not backed up by fact, but it just feels like these injuries happen more often in NFL training camps than they do in the college camps that we also pay attention to. There are injuries at an LSU fall camp. But it's usually he tweaked his ankle, he's probably going to miss a week. Yeah, defensive lineman, he broke his finger, they'll put a wrap on it. Yeah, he's down for a couple weeks. But man, these season enders just seem to pop up in NFL camps so often. And it's just such a bummer. Today, the Saints didn't even have pads on. I'm not there, and we'll talk to Kat Terrell about what she saw. Certainly wasn't this. This is something that came out, I think, after the media was out. But, just an absolute bummer, and just one that's, hard for me to grasp, that you were doing something at such a speed that happened. I realize it's not in contact oftentimes with an ACL, and I realize these guys are big men. They're oftentimes, they're oftentimes interlocked, but it just seems like this happens a lot. And again, we talked about it yesterday at the top in the Saints segment. It was you're going to get in this camp, and expectations are so high, and energy is so high, and there's going to be that camp injury that happens. And you just didn't think it was going to be the first day. So it's up to Mickey Loomis and that front office now to really identify what they've got and take inventory in the league. This broke 10 minutes ago. I was 5 minutes from going on the air when this happened, so I can't pretend to have a list handy of potential names that are unsigned or of potential guys who might not make a roster or teams that might be bloated at one position or another. But you understand that once this information becomes confirmed, and right now we're dealing off of reports that you feel are relatively credible, right now you look at this and you go, okay, Mickey Loomis and that team in the front office have to understand you've got to go find another veteran defensive tackle. You have to do it. And it happens, this is not something they're not familiar with. They've had to do it on the offensive line for the last 3 years. They've had to do it at wide receiver because they've had so many injuries. Running back last year, you find Autry Estime on the street. This is not a new exercise for NFL front offices. It's just not one that you thought you were going to get into the first day of camp. But you hate it for Bryan Bresee so much. That's a guy who's in his fourth year. That's a guy who's bumping up on getting that second contract, and you want to put your best year ever on paper so that, man, you're ready to go into that next year and get that extension. And now he's going to be rehabbing for the entirety of the fall. And that just, that I don't have another way to say it. That just sucks. We had a chance to sit down with Bryan Bresee Super Bowl week on this show. It was a delight to interview, delight to talk to. We joked about the LSU Clemson game upcoming and really enjoyed our conversation with him. And he's really shown himself to have some real talent, but you were hoping he put it all together this year in that Brandon Staley defense. And unfortunately for the Saints and certainly for Bryan Bresee, just won't happen. Sounds like Bryan Bresee, a torn ACL on day 1 of training camp, going to be out for the season. Huge gut punch. How are we feeling back there, Jordan? I don't think we're feeling so good.
I don't want to go too far and say I'm devastated that much because at the end of the day, we still have a lot of time. But to say that I'm not sick to my stomach seeing this, and it feels like we did kind of speak it into the universe yesterday, but we're realistic. We're just being real. We're just being real like it happens every training camp. But right now, Christian Miller,
you got to be second-round pick.
Listen, you have no better PR right now. You buying everybody groceries and all that. All right, now it's time to lock in. Your time is here. Your time is here. And Broughton, we drafted from Texas last year, who didn't play at all. Like, we've invested into the D-line, so it shouldn't be that big of a gut punch. It sucks right now. It stings. People hearing this, I know, it stings. But we've invested. We've put assets into the line. So one of these guys is going to have to step up. I just hate that this happened day one.
And I'll say this, because, look, they're going to be in that 3-down front, that 3-down look, and you're going to see different combinations of different guys.
Yeah.
It's a good thing they signed Cam Jordan.
Yes, and he can bump inside. Wow.
He can do both. It's a good thing they signed him, because that's a guy, he fits the mold exactly what I was talking about. Like, I don't know who all the veterans are at that position right now, because this happened 10 minutes ago. But that would be one of them that you could call, and he's already in camp. So that's a tough spot there for New Orleans. But news of the day, if you're just jumping in 30 seconds ago and going, what are y'all talking about? Sounds like the reports are that Bryan Bresee torn ACL out for the season, 90 minutes into training camp. Tough scene there in Metairie. We'll talk to Kat Terrell about it in an hour and 15 minutes. We got more sound coming from Saints camp as well. Kellen Moore met with the media. Alvin Kamara met with the media. I think Tyler Shuck did as well. That was after I was done listening to some of the press conferences. Kamara was in great spirits today. Was a joy to listen to as well. Cam Jordan met with the media. So lots of sound coming up at Saints camp. As I say, August runs off of sounds. We're not into August quite yet. We're in the last few days of July, but August runs on sound, and we'll have a lot of that coming up for you as the course of the rest of the show continues. When we come back, more drama between LSU and Ole Miss. I'll give you my thoughts on it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First American Bank and Trust. First American Bank and Trust. FABT.com. FABT.com. Look, they've been around for 116 years. 116 years serving Southeast Louisiana, and they've grown over the course of that 116 years to 25 locations throughout our part of the state. If you're in St. Tammany or Tangipahoa, down I-12, or maybe down the bayou in St. James, St. John, or Lafourche, there's a First American Bank and Trust near you. If you're near Baton Rouge and Dutchtown or Jones Creek, maybe if you're over in Metairie, you got a First American Bank and Trust near you. They've got the resources the big national banks do as well. If you need a commercial loan, need a personal loan, they can help you. They got 25 locations. They got you covered, but they give you that community feel in your commercial banking. It's First American Bank and Trust. Check them out online at FABT.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Been telling you all month of July about the awesome deals going on at Fabry Chevrolet GMC on Highway 61 in St. Francisville, and they're going until August 3rd, which gives you a little bit of time, but not a ton. They're giving employee pricing on 2026 GMC Sierra 1500 Denali's now until August 3rd. You can get up to $8,000 off on select Denali's. $8,000 off. It's a pretty good gig. Chevy's offering 0% APR financing for 5 years on 2026 Silverado 1500s, plus no monthly payments for 90 days. Now until, you guessed it, August 3rd. Chevy's offering bonus cash on select new vehicles to firefighters, police officers, 911 dispatchers, and EMT paramedics. And they've got inventory to fit any budget. Check out the inventory online at FabryChevrolet.com or go see them on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. Fabry Chevrolet GMC. All right, y'all. The news of the day yesterday was that Ole Miss released a statement suggesting that they were going to, or have, filed suit against Devin Harper and Prince William for breach of contract. Before we get into this, and I think y'all know where I stand, but I'm gonna continue to opine on it. I think y'all also understand that no one here loves LSU more than me. I am extremely passionate. I want them to win all the time. And I am thrilled that Prince William Miellen and Devin Harper are on this roster. I think Prince William Miellen is a force off the edge. I think he's going to be one of the best sack guys in the SEC. I think that helps you close out tight games with a lead. I think it's a huge boost to the team. Devin Harper is a really talented young player that LSU recruited out of high school that went to Ole Miss. Now he's back. He can play tackle. He can play guard. He's probably your swing guy. He might be your sixth offensive lineman on this team. I'm thrilled both guys are there. But for me personally, my love for LSU and the fact that I'm thrilled those guys are on the team doesn't make me approach this story and go, okay. I want LSU to win. I like LSU. I hate Ole Miss. How do I frame this story positively for LSU? Like, that's just not how I'm going to operate. And I feel like fans very, very often do look at every story like that. How do I make sure that LSU wins and Ole Miss loses? And so you're skeptical to everything that Ole Miss does, and you believe in everything that LSU does, and you go, well, Ole Miss, you're poor. Or you go, oh, they're just so butthurt. Oh, my gosh. They just cry and complain about everything. Or you say, well, they were coerced into signing it. It was between the two bowl games. Or you say, well, who cares? There are no rules. Or you say, oh, Ole Miss, you're doing the same thing. Or you say, oh, Ole Miss, good luck recruiting after this. And all this stuff, like, I just don't fall in line with any of that. Here's the way I see it. In college athletics right now, you can transfer every year. It's completely within the rules. You can get paid. It's completely within the rules. You can transfer every year and create a bidding war. It's completely within the rules. You can play a fifth year now. That's completely within the rules. There are so many things that are pro student athlete, and I'm okay with a lot of that stuff. Agents are going to do shady things. Tampering is going to go on. I'm not clutching pearls over any of this stuff, y'all. Like, I'm really not. I told y'all I didn't care about Ole Miss tampering with Luke Farrelly. I don't care about LSU attempting to go overseas and get some guys with questionable eligibility. Like, I'm not clutching pearls all over that. But there has to be a line somewhere. And for me, it's a contract. If we lose the ability to enforce a contract, what in the world can we do? There have to be some rules somewhere. And Prince William Miellen and Devin Harper were completely within their right to enter the transfer portal and transfer to LSU. They're completely within their right to sign a revenue sharing agreement with Ole Miss and get out of it and go to LSU. But guess what? If you do that second part where you sign the revenue sharing and then leave, you owe the penalty. It's in the contract. I don't know how there can be another way to rationalize this if you're being objective. If you want to just throw on all your purple and gold and just point and laugh at Oxford, then fine. But, like, we just won't see eye to eye, which is not a crime, but we're just not going to see eye to eye on this. I don't believe that these guys were tricked or forced or coerced into signing something. These are six-figure student athletes. Prince William Miellen has been in school for 4 years. There are agents involved. There are attorneys involved. If you don't need to sign something, get someone, a representative involved. I don't think Winnie Watkins is having any trouble right now. If you sign the revenue sharing agreement and you pull out of it, you're beholden to the consequences of the agreement. I don't understand how that's a difficult thing to grasp. And then I hear people say, well, did Ole Miss even pay him? Why do they have to pay him back? They probably didn't pay him that quick. That's not the point. And I haven't read the contract. And I wrote this on LouisianaSports.net, and I will tell you right now, I haven't seen the contract. And if there is a loophole that LSU is exercising, I will come back and say, okay, I didn't see the contract. Well done by LSU. I have no problem with that. But Ole Miss is being public with this, and it seems pretty cut and dried. So it would surprise me if Ole Miss's legal team was that inept that they allowed this ridiculously easy loophole that LSU walked right through, and then 7 months later they still are barking up the public tree to get paid. I have a hard time believing that. So it doesn't matter if Ole Miss paid him. If the contract says we owe you this in revenue sharing this year, and if you leave and transfer out, you owe us this, and that's the amount that they're asking for, that's what you owe. And to me, Prince William Mielen and Devin Harper should pay it. And if they can't, I have no idea how much money they got from Ole Miss, how much they're getting from LSU, and perhaps they can't pay it. It's very plausible. It's a reasonable, it's a mid six figures amount of money. Then LSU should step in and help. That's my take on it. Because I don't buy that Ole Miss is doing this out in public, and that's so ridiculous. It was 7 months later, y'all. It's been 7 months. I didn't know about this lack of payment for the first 4 or 5 months it was going on. We got wind of it 2 months ago, but it appears and look, I realize we're only getting one side of the story too. But it appears that they have reached out to both players multiple times. They've reached out to LSU, who responded. And I didn't hear about that. I'm right here. I'm covering the team. I'd love anything to talk about in June and July. I didn't have that. It seemed pretty private. And then Keith Carter was asked about it. He could have planted the question. I'm not telling you that everything Ole Miss does is on the up and up. I'm confident it's not. But in this instance, if you're going to sign a revenue share agreement and then go in the transfer portal and then leave, you're beholden to the payment to me. I hear LSU fans say, well, good luck recruiting anybody if you're going to sue everybody that transfers out. They're not. They're not suing Winnie Watkins. They didn't sue Austin Simmons. They're not suing Caden Lee, who left as a wide receiver. They're suing the guys who signed the agreement. And if you think that there's going to be a massive problem for Ole Miss recruiting student athletes because the other schools that are recruiting against Ole Miss are going to say, hey, don't go to Ole Miss. Because if you sign a contract that says they'll pay you $300,000, but if you leave, you owe them $500,000, and you transfer out after you sign the contract, they're gonna ask for $500,000. Do we think that's some kind of like massive revelation? Like there are some things you can negative recruit on. These guys pull scholarships. This pitching coach runs guys into the ground. This coach is ridiculously unethical off the course. Did you see him on the news? Did you see that dash cam? Like, you can negatively recruit about things. The fact that Ole Miss is going to ask for the money they're owed contractually, sorry, I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think that's something you negative recruit on. LSU had no problem finding money to fire Ed Ogeron and hire Brian Kelly. They had no problem firing Matt House and the whole defensive staff and hiring Blake Baker. They had no problem firing Brian Kelly and Scott Woodward. They had no problem hiring Lane Kiffin and keeping Blake Baker. They had no problem twice inking the number one transfer portal class in the country. They had no problem spending one of the top 4 or 5 most expensive rosters in the country for this year. All the while they're firing Matt McMahon and paying the women's basketball coach a boatload of money and giving the baseball coach a raise and hiring Will Wade and paying for his roster. They've never struggled for money. And I did back of the napkin math on this. This is nowhere near exactly correct to the sense. You're talking about $275, $280 million I just rattled off there. This is $900K. I just don't have a big problem with it. If you think, well, they're just being ridiculously petty asking this. I heard Flynn say that earlier. I've heard that word used, and I've seen it on the people are tweeting at me. I'm reading Tiger droppings. I get text messages from Ole Miss is so petty. They're so petty, y'all. They're being petty. Wait a second. How would you describe this? Would this be petty? If someone signs an agreement, then pulls out of the agreement, owes you money, you ask for the money, and you put your phone on Do Not Disturb and just don't respond? Is that petty? I mean, come on. What are we talking about? Nobody hopes LSU goes to Oxford and wins by 60 points more than me. Nobody. But, like, this is not the deal where I'm going to take up my purple and gold sword and go to the Twitter streets and battle. Ole Miss saw this coming. They saw their coach leaving. They saw their roster potentially being poached. And they made a reasonably smart decision in tying some key players to the next year's team in via revenue sharing with an out that was going to cost money coming back the other way. And now they're asking for the money they're contractually owed. I don't have a problem with it. I just don't. I'm thrilled Lane Kiffin's the coach at LSU. I'm thrilled they took him from Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss's football program is headed on a downward trajectory with Pete Golding at the helm. How quickly? I don't know. But in this specific instance, y'all, I can't drape myself in purple and gold and just point and laugh at Ole Miss. What I would do is I would say, hey, this is a $100 million operation you got going over here. These guys left. Everyone was aware of the circumstances when they signed those contracts and when they jumped in the transfer portal. If they didn't, then there's massive, massive, massive negligence going on in Baton Rouge. You owe this money. And the last thing I'll say here is that I'm not wired by like an attorney. I am wired to see things from both sides. Attorneys are wired to do whatever it takes to get on my side of the ledger and win, and whatever it takes to make the other side look as awful as possible. And I'm just not really wired like that. And I understand that. And if LSU believes that making Ole Miss go public with all this, making Ole Miss look like they're begging for cash, make Ole Miss lawyer up, make Ole Miss go to the courts, make Ole Miss drag this thing out where Prince William Unmiellen's a year into his time and then there's a settlement under the table at the end. Like, that's how legal stuff gets done. I realize how that happens. I think it's a little ridiculous, but that's just my opinion, and I've never been to a law school class, and no one will hire me as a lawyer as long as I live. I'm just not wired like that. I understand there are a lot of people that are. In my instance, if there's a contract, there's an agreement in place, and things happen, you abide by the contract. Same goes for coaching buyouts. Same goes for hiring coaches. It just seems simple to me that LSU's players should be paying up, and if that's not feasible and LSU needs to step in and make it happen, make it happen. What if Wednesday's next?
The Hunt Palmer Show.
It's hot out there, y'all. Heat index is well over indices. Indexes is proper in some terms. Doesn't really matter for the purpose of this. It's really hot out there. And our friends at Ochsner want to help you out. Like, heat stroke is a big deal in our part of the world. If your body temp is over 103, if you've got confusion, dizziness, fainting, hot, red, dry, damp skin, rapid pulse, nausea, vomiting, if you're experiencing any of those after being outside for any period of time, you could be experiencing heat stroke. Go to the nearest emergency room or call 911 immediately. If you've just got early symptoms, dry, sticky mouth, feeling lightheaded, fast heart rate, maybe mental changes, which is a major red flag, then get to the nearest Ochsner Urgent Care. You can find that at ochsner.org/UC. They want to remind you to avoid peak hours if possible. Stay hydrated, drink water, drink low-sugar electrolyte drinks, and stay safe out there. And most importantly, if you feel off, just shut it down. You can find your nearest Ochsner Urgent Care at ochsner.org/UC.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
GoTro's Outdoor Power brings the Hunt Palmer Show each and every day. GoTro's Outdoor Power. They're online at GoTrosOnline.com. 2 locations, Airline Highway in Baton Rouge and in Gonzales. They got incredible deals in July. And look, y'all, July is just about over. You better hustle in there if you want to get these awesome deals. 20% off MSRP for Hustler commercial mowers. And 0% financing for 48 months is available. So if you're looking for 20% off that MSRP for Hustler commercial mowers, get on by GoTro's Outdoor Power. Their National Hustler Deal of the Year, 2 of the last 3 years, largest Hustler Deal inventory in the state. That grass is growing. It's going to be growing for a while. So after Halloween, very likely. So if you need to get by and get that new zero-turn mower, incredible deals are available at GoTro's Outdoor Power. They're online at GoTrosOnline.com. All right, let's kind of recap where we are here. Talked about Bryan Bresee at the top of the show. He'll be out for the rest of the season, very likely, with a torn ACL. That's according to Ian Rappaport, who reported that after the Saints' first practice of training camp. We'll have Kat Terrell on in 55 minutes at 2:30, and she'll tell us about the latest from Saints camp there. She was out there. We'll talk Bresee as well as the other The other storylines from today, there was some good stuff. Jordan Tyson was out there working out. Tyler Shuck out there working out. Alvin Kamara out there. We heard from him earlier today. Cam Jordan met with the media as well. So lots going on the positive side from Saints camp, but obviously Bresee is the story of the day. And we'll get into potentially some Logan Schmidt talk later on in hour number 2 as well. For right now, it's What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
Okay, so what if you could guarantee the health of one non-Saints quarterback this year?
One non-quarterback.
Oh, that's not a
on,
Saint.
Yeah, no, one.
That's a
one,
Saint?
Yeah, that's a Saint. That's not a quarterback. So obviously Shuck is the guy. Shuck is the guy, but beyond him, non-quarterback Saint. I would go with Eric McCoy.
Really?
I think so.
Okay.
I could hear a Kool-Aid McKinstry, but I don't. I'm looking at the depth chart as opposed to the best player on the team.
Okay.
Because, I don't want Chase Young to go down, but
Lord, yeah.
Granderson and Cam Jordan can play. I've seen that offensive line play without its center. It sucks. I don't want to see it again. So I think for me, I think I would have to go with Eric McCoy for a non-quarterback Saint to stay healthy this year. That was written before Bryan Bresee went down, and that's not a great one, but I think Aaron McCoy is my answer.
I like the Aaron McCoy. I can see why, because that Eagles game is still in my head, just seeing the guards run into each other and Jalen Carter just bully everybody.
He got some cash today.
Boy, did he? Hey, Trevor Penning, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, Trevor Penning.
Getting guys paid.
Man, get out of here, Trevor. So what if you can guarantee the health of one non-QB Tiger this year, LSU Tiger?
That's going to be... well, I was going to say Jordan Seaton, and I still feel pretty good about that.
That's a good pick.
But a very close second is going to be DJ Pickett. Because if Pickett were to go down, you would have Woodland and Jakeem Jackson on the corners with Haven Finney or Michael Turner in the slot, unless you were going to bring Deshaun Spears or TaMarcus Cooley down. You're so thin at corner. I think DJ Pickett is my answer. Jordan Seaton going down is a big problem. You got, at that point, maybe Devin Harper at left tackle. Weston Davis would not move over. Maybe you would put Sean Tompkins out there, who played left tackle for Baylor last year. You're taking a big step down.
It's a lot going on.
And that's a big spot on the offensive line, but you're so thin at corner, too. It's one of those two for sure for me. I'll go with Pickett, even though it's close.
Yeah, it would have to be Pickett. Pickett, just because the guys behind him, yeah. So what if Kevin Gosman joins Bregman with the Cubs at the trade deadline?
It's possible. The Cubs are absolutely going to get a starting pitcher. Gosman could be on the market. They're not in it this year, and he's in the last year of his contract, so he'd be a rental. He's still got a really good splitter. He doesn't throw as hard as he used to, but he pitched in the World Series last year, obviously. So that would be a reasonable ad for the Cubs. There are some guys higher up on my list, but if the Cubs had Gosman and Bregman, that would be pretty cool.
All right, so what if you had to guess the media availability for LSU fall camp?
If I had to guess, I would say, because I do know this, that Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss let the media in for very little. Stretching, little individual, you're out.
Okay.
But when he came to Baton Rouge, not unlike Brian Kelly was pretty strict at Notre Dame, came to LSU and was just open the doors. I don't know if it's the $100 million contract, or I'm not sure what mellowed Brian Kelly, but the same effect happened with Lane Kiffin, because he let us see a lot of spring ball, and then he said at the podium, he was like, well, I'll have to talk to y'all. Do y'all want more access? And he was, I don't know if he wants to do that, but I think he's trying to be a little bit different, a little bit more cooperative with the media. Here's my guess.
Okay.
We get way more than Ole Miss did, which was just individuals 15, 20 minutes, take attendance and leave. I think we'll get to see some full practices early on. I don't think we'll get to see near the amount of 11 on 11 and full scrimmages like we saw for Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly let us watch 3 scrimmages
Yeah, that's
last
crazy.
year, which just blows my mind. That is not happening, I don't think. But I think we'll get to see some 7-on-7 stuff. I think we'll get to see some inside run stuff, and maybe a couple full practices early. I think Les used to shut it down after about 2.5 weeks, or this happened twice when I was covering the team. Somebody got hurt, and then we got an email saying you can't come, and so the injury could be hid for a second because we weren't out there.
Yeah.
So or Les would just say like it's time to start doing prep for the game. So I think it'll be more than he did at Ole Miss, less than BK, and geared early. My guess is we're kicked out around August 18th or 20th.
That's a good sweet spot. So this is from the text line. What if Kerry Wood unretired and returned to the Cubs and pitched behind his back like he did in the All-Star game? Would it help?
It was not the All-Star game. It was the Savannah Bananas when he went out there and did a full windup and flipped behind his back in there for a strike. I don't think Kerry Wood is in a position to help the Cubs. The Cubs need a lot of help, and I love Kerry Wood. One of my earliest memories is 20 strikeout game, but I don't think he's in a spot to help. Kerry, one of my all-time Cubs memories ever. 2003, Game 7 of the NLCS. Winner goes to the World Series. It was the day after the Bartman game.
Oh,
and
Lord.
so Pryor pitched the Bartman game. He was on the mound. He was unhittable, and the Marlins got to him. But Wood pitched Game 7, and he gave up a couple runs early. And then Kerry Wood, Cubs trailing Game 7 of the NLCS, hits a homer. And I mean, not just like any homer. He absolutely eviscerates a ball into the gap in left center and pimped it. He hit it and like tossed the bat, put his head down and started rocking. And I don't know if Wrigley's ever been louder. There were drinks flying everywhere. Like I wasn't there. I was watching on TV. I was a sophomore in high school, but I've still watched the YouTube highlights 100 times. It is one of the coolest moments of my Cubs watching life, watching a pitcher hit a Game 7 home run to tie the game and Wrigley go into an absolute frenzy. And then we lost. So you got that.
Okay. Well, that's it for What If Wednesday.
That's it for What If Wednesday. Some Kerry Wood stuff. That's what you were all looking for here as we get into Saints football season. We're always brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on Wednesday. They're built online at builtbyrenaissance.com, builtbyrenaissance.com. My guy Joey Blanchard is awesome. So reach out to him. We'll get you his number here at the end of the hour. But if you're looking for a new pool, looking for a new outdoor kitchen, reach out to my guy Joey Blanchard at Renaissance Homes and Pools. They're online at builtbyrenaissance.com. That's builtbyrenaissance.com. All right, if you're a basketball fan in Baton Rouge, you'll know our next guest, and he's got a new place. We'll tell you about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. BoudreauxElectrical.com is the website, but call Neil and Melissa. They've been at this for 40 years. They know what they're doing. Give them a call at 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562 or 225-300-9389. If you're looking for that Generac home standby generator, call the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical Services. They are live. They are local. So you looking for that Generac home standby generator, you can call the big box store. I promise you, they'll get you to the finish line. You'll get that generator installed. Will you ever hear from them again? What if you've got a mechanical problem? What if the storm blows through and your generator doesn't come on? Who do you call? I don't know. But if you go through the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical, you've got a local team monitoring your Generac home standby generator 24/7. They'll know before you do if there's a mechanical issue. Then they'll send a local team to come out and do the repair. That's the local difference at Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Don't get caught in the dark after a storm. Get that Generac home standby generator from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical Services.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Wrapping up hour number one here, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Those of you in Baton Rouge, really in the state of Louisiana, certainly know the name Carlos Sample. Was a star on the hardwood for the Southern Jaguars. Twice was an all-SWAC performer, led the Jags to 2 NCAA tournament appearances and an NIT as well. Then turned Scotlandville into one of the premier high school basketball programs in the nation. 16 seasons there at Scotlandville, won 8 state championships, played in 14 straight state title games, which is almost hard to say out loud. And just last week, named the head coach at Baton Rouge Community College, Coach Carlos Sample, good enough to give us a little bit of time here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline on this Wednesday. Coach Sample, thanks for the time. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me on your show. Appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. Why BRCC?
Like I've been saying all a while, it's home. It felt right. I'm from here, been here, high school, college, coaching career, all in Baton Rouge. So I'm just elated and excited about this opportunity that was given to me from Brock, and I'm just going to try to take it and keep the program going in the upward spiral.
This may be an odd question because it's just all part of your life. But what do you take most pride in? Your accomplishments on the floor, or your accomplishments after you were done playing as a coach?
I just take accomplishments in the young men that we jailed, the boys that we jailed, into being young, productive men, going to school, taking up a profession, just looking at the lives that we've really touched and just been a part of, to see young men grow, young men grow into men of valor, and just being able to take care of themselves and their families. That's more important to me than any championship trophy.
I want to talk about your time at Scotlandville briefly before we get into your plans for Baton Rouge Community College. To go to 14 straight state title games at that level is truly unbelievable. And I know you had some great players that rolled through there, a couple that ended up at LSU. But what was the key for you in continuing that success at such a high level?
I think the key was mostly of just not being complacent. You take every year, you throw away the year before, and you take the next year and you just start all over. And you just keep your expectations high, and you just thrive and continue to just get better and give 110 day in and day out. And then, you look at your benefits later on, like once you're done coaching and all of that, then you can look back and reflect on the accomplishments. But when you're in it, you have to be in it and just continue to get better.
Carlos Sample is our guest, the new head basketball coach at Baton Rouge Community College. Of course, you know him from his time as a player at Southern, as a coach at Scotlandville. Now, coming home to Baton Rouge Community College, I want to ask you about Javonte, because he's probably the player that most of my listenership remembers the most vividly. And I go back to his freshman season when Tremont Waters got hurt and Javonte took that game over against a great Tennessee team. What made him such a special competitor and such a special player that he was at Scotlandville and turned into at LSU?
I really think he was born to play basketball. Javonte, he is really the epitome of Scotlandville basketball. You come in, regardless of who you are, your stature, you come in, you give it 110 day in and day out every day. You carry yourself like a proud, respectable young man. You treat people the way you want to be treated. You stay humble, and you continue to just be the best version of you you can be day in and day out. And that sums him up in a nutshell, being a competitor and doing the things that he needs to do to be successful in life. I wish he had a little more eligibility.
Yeah, look, at this point, everybody's got a lot of eligibility. Just sue everybody, and you can bring anybody wherever you want to. So maybe Javonte will come on back and play at BRCC for you. What are your plans for this program at Baton Rouge Community College? When I think about Louisiana Community College athletics, I think about some of the great successes on the baseball field, and certainly there have been some on the basketball court as well. What's your plan for Baton Rouge Community College?
I'm just trying to just continue to make it grow. I've seen, Southern, LSU in the center of everything, and I'm just excited to just be a part of something that I think would be special if we just continue to just tap into Baton Rouge, surrounding areas, get the community and the city of Baton Rouge something they can be proud of to come see night in, night out at BRCC, and someone that they can identify as being a coach of BRCC, the face of BRCC basketball, and just take that and just try to grow it into something that can be very, very special.
Well, Coach, you're as much a winner as anybody on the basketball court in the Baton Rouge area that I can think of, and I wish you all the best there at Baton Rouge Community College. Welcome home, and we'll be watching this winter.
Oh man, I thank you so much, and please come out and give us some support, and just we just excited for the opportunity, and just ready to make you guys proud of what we're gonna do.
We'll get you back on when the season starts up. Thanks, Coach.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
That's Carlos Sample, head men's basketball coach at Baton Rouge Community College. Just truly an unbelievable run at Scotlandville for Coach Sample. Had Bridgewater show up at LSU. Obviously, Javonte Smart show up at LSU. But even it wasn't like a one-man show there. Sometimes a high school gets a guy that runs through there, and then that player's eligibility is gone. He moves on to the college ranks, and then, well, what are you going to do after that? Well, there was no one player that made Scotlandville what it was. They went to 14 straight state title games at the highest level in the state. unbelievable sustained excellence. He was a great player at Southern and now headed over to Baton Rouge Community College to see if he can impact. And I got a sense that there's going to be a little bit more juice to the basketball scene around here than there has been. I think LSU is kind of the ship that rises, the tide that rises all boats, I should say, around here. And sometimes we can get into a lull after football before baseball cranks up. And I think LSU men's basketball and certainly LSU women's basketball can certainly make that time a lot more interesting and get people more interested in basketball. And I'll tell you all this. I took Myers when he was like 2.5 to a BRCC men's basketball game. They were playing against Bossier Parish Community College. My old high school point guard was the head coach there. He's now become the head coach at Centenary in Shreveport. But I took Myers when he was like 2. It was too much of a overstimulation to go to an LSU game at that point. But BRCC was just a slower pace, smaller gym, more seats. He could roam a little bit. You got young kids that do like sports but don't want to sit in a spot for 2 hours. BRCC is a great option to go check out a little hoops. I've certainly done it, and we'll be back to see Coach Sample and his team. Great that Coach Sample's back home in Baton Rouge, and I think he'll do great things at BRCC. So thanks to Brock Cantro for hooking us up and making that happen here on this Wednesday. All right, that's it for hour number 1. If you missed any of our show here in hour number 1, you can go catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Unfortunately, the news of the day is on the negative side. Bryan Bresee out for the season, very likely. That's the report from Ian Rappaport, the fears of torn ACL. And as I said a couple of times in the first segment, it's just not something a veteran reporter like Ian Rappaport is going to tweet incorrectly. He may say, if it's not sure, like they fear the worst. He said torn ACL. Imaging is coming. So that's evidence that that's probably the case. We talked about it at the top of the show. You can catch that at Hunt on Saints. Then I talked about the LSU Ole Miss lawsuit. Ole Miss suing the 2 LSU players. LSU's role in that. I gave my 2 cents on it. You can go check that out on demand wherever you find your sound. Also, What If Wednesday. We'll come back after Sports Center. Talk some Saints. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Told you I'd give you Joey Blanchard's number here at the end of the hour, and I'm going to do it. If you're looking for the pool of your dreams, then contact my guy, Joey Blanchard. He is happy to do that. It doesn't matter if you're looking for a big, extravagant pool that you've always wanted, or you just want something simple that you can hang out in and maybe have a cocktail or catch some rays. He can do that as well. Happy to help you with whatever it is, and he's with you every step of the way. That's the beauty of working with a local company and working with someone local like Joey Blanchard. So shoot him a text. He's told me that many times. Like, yeah, you can go to builtbyrenaissance.com. He'll get back to you. You can call, but just shoot him a text. Say, hey, I heard your ad on Hunt Show. I'd love to talk to you about a pool. Shoot him a text at 225-252-7745. That's 225-252-7745. Say, hey, love to talk to you about a pool. He'll come by. It's Joey for the consultation, Joey for the design, Joey for the dig, the finish. He's there every step of the way. He's there online at builtbyrenaissance.com.